Welcome to this explainer. Imagine this. An abandoned kid, literally playing in the dirt, grows up to forge the absolute greatest dynasty in ancient India. It sounds like the plot of an epic movie, right? Well, today, we're diving into the incredible, entirely true story of Chandragupta Maurya. This was a leader who didn't just conquer a few territories. He literally laid the foundation for an undivided subcontinent. Okay, so picture this. It's roughly 320 BC. We have this brilliant royal advisor, Chanakya, walking down a dirt path, absolutely furious after being publicly insulted by the ruling king Dhanananda. Suddenly, he stops. He spots a group of kids playing, and one boy is acting as the king. When another child is brought before him accused of stealing food, this young boy delivers a stunningly mature verdict. He declares point blank that if a kingdom is starving, it's the king who actually deserves the punishment. He even orders 10 lashes for himself as the acting king. I mean, wow! Chanakya was just blown away by this profound, unshakable sense of justice coming from a mere child. Now, Chandragupta's actual origins are kind of shrouded in mystery and tragedy. He was born near modern-day Patna, but his warrior father died in battle before he was even born. Some sources say he was abandoned and raised by a pastoral family. Others say his mother Mora raised him. But honestly, what really matters is what happened right after that fateful day in the dirt. Chanakya immediately recognized this kid's immense potential. He met with Chandragupta's mother, convinced her to let him take the boy, and whisked him away to the great ancient learning center of Taxila. He basically drafted him to be trained in the ruthless arts of war and statecraft, preparing him for absolute greatness. But look, overthrowing a massive, established dynasty, it is definitely not a walk in the park. Their ultimate target was the deeply entrenched Nanda Empire. And King Dhananda didn't just have a terrifyingly large army, he also had his own genius strategist, a guy named Amatya Rakshasa. So when Chandragupta and Chanakya launched their very first direct attacks right at the heart of the Nanda Empire, they were completely crushed. It was an absolute disaster. They barely escaped with their lives, forcing them to basically regroup and rethink the whole shebang.
So, here's where it gets really fascinating. Their brilliant military pivot didn't actually come from some fancy war room. It came from a bowl of hot khichdi. One night, while they were hiding out from Nanda forces, Chanakya and Chandragupta were eating warm porridge in a local home. A kid, sitting near them, shoved his hand right into the center of his bowl and burnt his fingers. The mother scolds him, right? She tells him he should eat from the edges first, where it's cooler. Hearing this, Chanakya just freezes. It was a total light bulb moment. He realized that attacking the Nanda Empire directly in the center was exactly like burning their hands in that hot khichdi.
Right, so they realized they were literally burning their hands by attacking the center. Time for new strategy. They started eating from the edges. First, they brilliantly capitalized on the power vacuum left in the northwest after Alexander the Great went back to Greece. Chandragupta allied with local rulers and systematically picked off the Greek governors. Then, following Chanakya's advice, he forms an alliance with a Himalayan king named Parvatka, building this massive combined army. Finally, slowly moving inward, they strike the heart of Magadha and defeat King Dhanananda in 322 BC. Just like that, the Maurya Empire was officially born. And you know what? The momentum absolutely didn't stop there. Chandragupta wasn't just looking to replace the old boss. He was out to build an unprecedented empire. Backed by a highly skilled army and a specialized wing of secret services gathering intelligence, he relentlessly pushed his borders further and further out. He rapidly defeated the remaining Macedonian satraps. Then he took on Seleucus, a former general of Alexander the Great, swiftly conquering the Indus Valley and driving his territory all the way into parts of modern-day Afghanistan. But Chandragupta wasn't just a brute force conqueror. The guy was a master diplomat. To secure lasting peace after utterly defeating Seleucus, the two leaders actually formed an alliance. Chandragupta married Seleucus's daughter, Helena, and handed over a rather casual wedding gift of exactly 500 war elephants. I mean, talk about a massive flex of power in diplomacy. It worked so well that Seleucus even sent an ambassador named Megasthenes to the Mauryan court. Megasthenes famously wrote a book called Indica, which is actually still a vital source for us to understand ancient Indian history today. Just look at the sheer scale of what they achieved here. He effectively united the entire subcontinent. We are talking Bengal and Assam in the east, all the way to Afghanistan and Balochistan in the west, and from Kashmir way down to the Deccan Plateau. Except for the very extreme south, he integrated all of South Asia into a single, cohesive unit.
This expansion was so vast, so awe-inspiring, that ancient Greek texts literally described him as a mystic warrior who possessed the supernatural ability to tame wild lions and aggressive elephants, like a real-life superhero. But as we all know, conquering a massive territory is only half the battle. Actually governing it, that's the real test. So to manage this incredibly massive empire efficiently, it was neatly divided into 4 perfectly organized provinces, all mapped out in Chanakya's famous text on statecraft, the Arthashastra. You had Uttarpath managed from Taxila, Avantipath from Ujjain, Dakshinapath from Suvarnagiri, and of course the central administration, Prachapath, anchored right in Pataliputra. This highly structured administration ran like an absolute well-oiled machine. And because of that administrative brilliance, his reign ushered in a literal golden age of infrastructure. He built a massive highway spanning thousands of miles, connecting Pataliputra directly to Taxila. He developed highly advanced irrigation systems to boost agriculture and opened up expansive new mines. But he didn't just build roads and wealth. He built a remarkably tolerant society. It was a true masterclass in governance. Buddhism, Jainism, traditional Brahmanism, and the Ajivika sects, they all flourished under his rule in peaceful coexistence. Now, despite all of this very public success, we have to ask a much darker question. How did a daily dose of poison, something meant to protect the king, end up causing a heartbreaking personal tragedy? Because while the history books love to focus heavily on his military and administrative victories, a deeply personal disaster was about to fundamentally alter his life behind the throne. Look, being an ancient emperor was incredibly dangerous. There was a constant, lingering threat of assassination everywhere you went. To protect him, his trusted advisor Chanakya had actually been secretly slipping tiny doses of poison into Chandragupta's daily meals. The whole idea was to slowly build up the king's bodily immunity. Clever, right? But then, one terrible day, the unthinkable happens. Chandragupta's beloved first wife, Queen Durhara, who was in the final stages of her pregnancy, accidentally ate the food that was meant for the king. By the time Chanakya figures out what had happened, he knows instantly that the queen is not going to survive this toxic dose. It's too late for her. So in a desperate, shocking, and incredibly gruesome split-second decision to save the lineage of the Mauryan Empire, Chanakya literally draws his own sword. He cuts open the dying queen's womb in a frantic attempt to rescue the unborn baby. And amazingly, he actually manages to save the child. But during that chaotic emergency procedure, just a single, tiny drop of poisoned blood fell onto the baby's forehead. That little drop of poison left a permanent blue dot, or a bindu, on the boy's head. And that, right there, is exactly how the child got his famous name, Bindusara. Born out of immense tragedy, this boy would go on to become the next great ruler of the Mauryan Empire. Fast forward a bit, time goes on, and Chandragupta raises Bindusara to be a strong leader. But then, in an incredible shift from his glamorous, aggressive rise to power, Chandragupta makes a stunning decision. After ruling this vast, unified India for roughly 23 years, he completely renounces all worldly power. He crowns a now-grown Bindusara as the new emperor, asks Chanakya to stay on as the chief advisor, and he simply walks away. He leaves the throne and Pataliputra behind to become an ascetic Jain monk. He travels all the way down to a cave in Shravanabagola in South India, submitting himself entirely to a new, rigorous spiritual discipline. Under the guidance of his guru, Bhadarbahu, the once most powerful man in all of Asia, undertook Salakana, a deeply solemn Jain ritual of voluntarily fasting to death to achieve spiritual release. He gave up everything, food, water, and eventually his mortal body, passing away in 297 BC. Even today, a small temple stands at that very cave in his memory. When you look at this timeline, it is just breathtaking. In just a few short decades, we witness a life journey spanning from an abandoned child playing in the dirt to a tactical genius toppling a massive dynasty in 322 BC. He then spends over 2 decades building the infrastructure and borders of modern South Asia, only to willingly surrender it all, to die as a fasting monk in a cave in 297 BC. It's a truly wild ride. So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought for today's explainer. Decades later, Chandragupta's own grandson, the legendary Ashoka the Great, would follow a strikingly similar path, beginning with massive, bloody military conquests and ending with a profound spiritual awakening. Was this incredible capacity for both absolute power and total spiritual surrender the real secret to the Mauryan Empire's enduring greatness?
Think about what it takes to build a world and what it really takes to leave it all behind. Until next time, keep questioning history.